Hey, Read Through the Word. Today is May 14th, and today's lesson is called Going Up. First, I cannot believe we are halfway through the month of May. So here we are. We're reading through the Word together. So now we're almost through this next month. So January, February, March, April, May. So one more month. And we're halfway there, or really like a month and a half. And so here we are. So we're in the thick of the Psalms. And I know for some people this is hard. Honestly, it is hard for me too. It's hard, especially the way the chronological Bible is written, or the way everything's ordered in our reading. We hit the same type of Psalms in a row. So you hit the Psalms of David right in a row. And so it's hard for me as to know which ones to teach without it sounding like I'm teaching you the same lesson all the time. But that's the Word of God is like that, because there is a theme to everything, and it's got the same theme throughout. So I know sometimes the Psalms are hard. And especially what I'm doing Psalms today and tomorrow, and I hadn't written it down. So today I'm going to help you put in context a set of Psalms, and I believe I've done this here before. And I need to stop thinking that now some of you have been with us for years and have been doing Read Through the Word every year. So many times I don't want to say the same thing I might have said in previous lessons in the years before. But if you're like me, you probably wouldn't have remembered. I mean, it hits me as I'm talking. I've said this before. But we have so many of you that are new to us that Read Through the Word. And so this is new for you. And maybe this isn't a lesson you've heard before. So I need to keep that in the forefront of my mind as well. And so I've not gone live on Facebook in a while. I need to do that. I'm winding down on my school year. So, and it's been a crazy year as our school pursued accreditation, and we got it. And as I was teaching the AP class, and so that totally threw me in that. So I'm going to try to show up a little bit more in our Facebook group, and probably try to get in to interact with you more in the comments. And so I am sorry I've not done that as much as I usually do, and because I really enjoy that. So today we are with Psalm 122. And it says this: I was glad when they said to me, let us go to the house of the Lord. And now here we are, standing inside your gates, O Jerusalem. Jerusalem is a well-built city. Its seamless walls cannot be breached. All the tribes of Israel, the Lord's people, make their pilgrimage here. They come to give thanks to the name of the Lord, as the law requires of Israel. Here stand the thrones where judgment is given, the thrones of the dynasty of David. Okay, and I'm stopping there, but I'm looking at what are known as the songs. It says right here, a song for the pilgrims ascending to Jerusalem. And you'll notice that in the top of a few Psalms that we're, let's see, in our reading today, we've got 3 of them. So that's really what I want to talk about, is putting the Psalm in context. So context. And that's what I want to talk about today. So Psalm 122 is a song of ascent. Now notice, like, even in the NLT says the word song for psalm, and that's exactly what the word psalm means, is a song. So the book of Psalms is a book of songs, or a worship for the Hebrew people, or the Jewish people at that point. So let's talk about the songs of ascent or the psalms of ascent. So if I flip-flop between the two, you know what I'm talking about. There are 15 of them, from Psalm 120 to Psalm 134. There's a set of what are known as the songs of ascent or the psalms of ascent. These are the psalms that were actually sung by the Jews traveling to Jerusalem for the 3 annual feasts. And so we're mixing a lot of things in here today. In order to put this in context, we're going to have to talk about my favorites, some stuff from, well, I'm actually not giving you the Leviticus verses. I'm giving you Exodus and Deuteronomy to put this in context of what's going on when these people are singing these songs and some other things that we need to see. So let's talk. I've got so much going through my head right now. I'm trying to focus. So there are 3 annual feasts that require a pilgrimage. They have to go. So there is the spring feast of the pilgrimage of the Feast of Passover. Then there is the summer feast of pilgrimage is the Feast of Pentecost. And the harvest time pilgrimage feast in the fall is the Feast of Tabernacles. Right now on our calendar, we are between Passover and Pentecost. Pentecost, if you look on your, I just checked my calendar, just like paper calendar that I my mom gives me one every year. I have a little wooden thing it goes in, and every year we get me one of those Lang calendars to go in it, and I choose the one that has the Bible verses. So it sits right here, and I stare at it. And on there, it already, May 28th is actually Pentecost Sunday. Now, the feast begins the Thursday night before at sundown. Is probably labeled on your map as Shavuot. And so that is that feast. Now, I'm sorry for all the I'm trying to rein in what all I want to say to you. In my Sunday school class last Sunday, I taught the book of Ruth. And on Wednesday, my best friend texted me, and she's my pastor's wife, and her daughter, who has graduated and is working on her doctorate right now, usually teaches a class with her on Wednesday nights, and she was sick this week. And she texted me, she's like, hey, you want to come teach Ruth with me tonight? And I was like, oh, that'd be great. So this was like noon for me to go teach. And so my mind has been in discussing the rhythm of God with his people for the past week. So I was very excited to be able to do this, because the book of Ruth happens right during this time period. The book of Ruth, when you end chapter 1, and it says, at the time that Naomi and Ruth returned to Bethlehem, or returned to Israel from Moab, all it says is one little sentence that says time for the barley harvest. Well, the barley harvest happens at the time of Passover. That is one of the things. And then so they enter the land during what is known as the counting of the Omer. So the 50 days they will count until Pentecost, until that, or the Feast of Gathering. And so that's when the book of Ruth occurs. And so I always say the book of Ruth occurs about harvest in the middle of a physical and spiritual famine. And so this idea of God has a rhythm for his people that revolves around him. That he has not only given them a physical sign that they are his people that is so intimate that no one knows but them, but is a physical reminder of every single day of their life of who they belong to. For men, circumcision. And so that he has orchestrated their calendar and their life to every season. And there's not a winter festival and feast in the Old Testament, but by the time you get to the New Testament times, during the intertestamental period, there is the time of the Maccabees, and that's where Hanukkah comes from, which is the winter festival of lights, which Jesus himself celebrates in the book of John. So when you look at this, that it is like, we are God's people, we are God's people, we are God's people. We can't, this is a constant reminder. And so you have those feasts, and then you also have Yom Kippur, which is also known as the Day of Atonement, which is also a fall. And Rosh Hashanah, which is the Feast of Trumpets, or the Jewish New Year, which are 5 and 10 days before the fall Feast of Tabernacles. And so Exodus 23 and Deuteronomy 16 discuss these, and I've put those in your notes. And so Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah were not pilgrimage feasts, but people were already making the pilgrimage anyway, so they would go early to be able to celebrate those. And when you're looking at Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot, Feast of Booths, those are all the different names it goes by, that you see they were, it aligns itself with being able for a pilgrimage feast in that you have to make a booth outside of your house that is not inside your normal house to remind you of the wilderness wanderings and the giving. So all of this. So that's also going on as well. But Passover, what makes Passover different from the other two pilgrimage feasts is that Passover requires the entire family to travel to Jerusalem. The other feasts require only the men to travel. Now, we see this so what is wonderful about these Psalms, not only are they the Word of God given to His people to be used for a time, but they are, Jesus Himself sings these Psalms because He makes, with His family, the pilgrimage to Jerusalem for Passover. Remember, his mom and daddy lost him and they found him at the temple? That's what he was doing. And so he went with a group of people, because the group of people from Nazareth, where he would grow up, would have made the pilgrimage to Jerusalem and had celebrated Passover. And on their way back home, that's when they go, oh, anybody seen Jesus? But it's a whole group of people because everybody had to come. And so, the kids were with the kids, and probably the moms were with the moms, the dads were with the dads, and they're making that trip. But so on the way up to Jerusalem, Jesus would have sung the songs of Ascent. Now, when we look at where it's talking about go up to Jerusalem, and I've talked to y'all about this when we look at New Testament, when Jesus says as he goes up to Jerusalem, meaning up here is that Jerusalem is the highest point above sea level in all of Israel. So no matter where you're coming, which direction you're coming from, north, south, east, west, you're going to go up in elevation in order to get to Jerusalem. And so it's always up in the Bible because of elevation. But the Psalms of Ascent are not just about going up in elevation. They are about going up or ascending to God in this, that they are headed to Jerusalem from wherever they are in the land. They're headed there for a purpose, to worship God in the way that he has commanded them and to remember who he is. So I say, it is a road trip, and this is the Old Testament playlist. The Old Testament pilgrimage playlist is the Songs of Ascent. They would have all sung these together. And if you pay attention to them, I'm not going into all of this right now. If you pay attention to them, there is a cycle to them. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So go back and pay attention that there's a cycle there about, okay, I'm trouble, but it is like because Jerusalem's the highest place, every once in a while they're going to get a glimpse of it. There's Jerusalem. There we're going, and there we will meet with God. And so it is this preparing their heart. These are songs meant to focus the minds and the hearts of God's people as they draw close to Him for worship. That's what this is. These songs help His people to focus that they're going to Jerusalem, to the temple, to meet with God. And then to experience His presence. And I think that it's a reminder to me to focus as I read through these Psalms. Focus my mind and heart on God as I travel this lifelong spiritual pilgrimage. That is, if I focus my mind, focus my heart, focus everything on that, one day I will see His face. I'm not headed to the temple. I'm headed to the kingdom that is eternal. And one day I will see His face, and I'm going to get my mind and my heart prepared now. And I hope you do too. We'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.